The Discovery. Captain Zara Keth stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Horizon's Edge, her 4 eyes focused on the star charts displayed before her. The Meridian Alliance had tasked her with mapping the outer reaches of known space, but what she found there made no sense. For 3 centuries, every galactic map showed the same thing: a vast empty region marked simply as Dead Zone, human territory. No ships entered, no signals emerged. It was as if an entire section of the galaxy had been erased from existence. The bridge hummed with quiet activity. Her crew of 12 represented the best the Alliance had to offer. Commander Jorik Thane, her second-in-command, approached with his usual measured steps. His species, the Korthani, were known for their military precision and careful planning. "Captain," he said, his voice carrying the weight of concern, "our long-range sensors are detecting something unusual." Zara turned from the display. "Define unusual, Commander." "There's a signal coming from within the dead zone. It's faint, but it's definitely artificial. The pattern suggests it's some kind of beacon." Jorik's tentacles moved nervously, a sign of his unease. "According to every treaty and galactic law, that area is off-limits." The captain felt her hearts beat faster. In her 20 years of exploration, she had never encountered anything from human space. Like most beings in the galaxy, she had grown up with stories about humans. They were said to be a young species that had risen quickly, fought brutal wars, and then simply vanished. Some believed they had destroyed themselves. Others thought they had transcended to another plane of existence. But the truth was, nobody really knew what had happened to humanity. "Plot a course for the signal," Zara commanded, "but keep us at the edge of the dead zone. We'll investigate from a safe distance." Engineer Lisa Cord looked up from her console, her young features showing excitement rather than fear. "Captain, if we're really going to investigate human space, this could be the discovery of the century. Think about what we might learn." Commander Thane's expression remained stern. "Or what might learn about us. There's a reason that space has been marked as forbidden for 300 years. As the Horizon's Edge moved closer to the signal source, the crew grew quieter. The normal chatter of a working bridge faded to whispers, then to complete silence. Even the ship's systems seemed to run more quietly, as if they too understood the significance of what they were approaching. The beacon was old, far older than any technology the current galactic civilizations possessed. It floated in the void like a dark crystal, its surface covered in symbols that their computers couldn't translate. But as they watched, the beacon began to pulse with a soft blue light, and suddenly their communication systems came alive. "This is Automated Message 77 Alpha," came a voice that was unmistakably human. "If you're receiving this transmission, you've crossed the boundary into protected space. State your purpose and intentions." Zara exchanged glances with her crew. This was first contact with human technology in 3 centuries. She stepped forward and activated the ship's transmitter. "This is Captain Zara Keth of the Meridian Alliance vessel Horizon's Edge. We detected your beacon and came to investigate. We're explorers, not invaders." The response came immediately, as if the system had been waiting for exactly that answer. "Captain Keth, you and your crew are not in immediate danger, but you have entered space that contains classified information. You have 2 choices. Turn back now and forget what you've seen, or continue forward and learn truths that will change your understanding of the galaxy forever." The bridge fell into complete silence. Every member of the crew understood the weight of this moment. They were being offered a choice that no one had faced for centuries: walk away safely or discover what really happened to humanity. "What kind of truths?" Zara asked. "The kind that explain why your star maps end at our borders. The kind that reveal why we disappeared. The kind that will show you what we've been protecting you from." The voice paused. "Choose carefully, Captain. Some knowledge cannot be forgotten." Commander Thane stepped closer to his captain. "Sir, with respect, we should return to Alliance space and report this contact. Let the government decide how to proceed." Engineer Cord shook her head vigorously. Are you insane? This is the chance of a lifetime. We could learn technologies beyond our imagination, discover what happened to an entire species. Zara looked around at her crew. She could see the fear in some faces, the excitement in others, and the uncertainty in all of them. As captain, the decision was hers alone to make. But she had not become an explorer by playing it safe. "We'll continue forward," she announced, "but we go slowly and carefully. At the first sign of danger, we retreat." The beacon's light intensified, and new coordinates appeared on their navigation display. "Follow the marked route, Captain Keth. Welcome to the truth." As they followed the coordinates deeper into human space, the crew began to notice changes in their environment. Space itself seemed different here. The background radiation was more organized. The gravitational fields showed patterns that shouldn't exist naturally. It was as if someone had been actively managing this entire region of space for centuries. "Captain," called out their science officer, Dr. Temnaeus, "I'm detecting massive structures ahead. They're not showing up on normal sensors, but the gravimetric readings are off the charts." Through the view screen, they began to see them. Colossal installations built into asteroids and planetoids, their surfaces covered with technology that seemed to blend seamlessly with natural rock. The structures were enormous, each one the size of a small moon, and they were everywhere. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, all connected by streams of energy that flowed between them like luminous rivers. "My God," whispered Engineer Cord. "They've turned this entire region into some kind of massive monitoring network." The human voice returned, but this time it carried a different tone. Less automated, more personal. "You're seeing it now, aren't you? The network we built to watch the void, to keep the galaxy safe from what lies beyond." "Beyond what?" Zara asked, though part of her wasn't sure she wanted to know the answer. "Captain, I think it's time you met someone who can explain this properly. Proceed to the coordinates I'm transmitting. There's someone there who's been waiting a very long time to tell this story." The coordinates led them to a structure unlike the others. It was smaller, more refined, built into what had once been a beautiful blue-green world. As they approached, docking bays opened to receive their ship, and they found themselves being gently guided inside by technology that worked without making a sound. The docking bay was a marvel of engineering, but what struck the crew most was how empty it felt. There were spaces for hundreds of ships, maybe thousands, but theirs was the only one there. The silence was profound, like stepping into a tomb. As they disembarked, wearing full environmental suits, they were met by a figure that took their breath away. It was human, or had been once. He stood tall and moved with fluid grace, but his eyes held depths that spoke of centuries of watching and waiting. His clothes were simple but made of materials that seemed to shimmer with their own light. "Welcome," he said, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "I am Dr. Marcus Vale, though I haven't used that title in a very long time. I've been waiting for someone like you to find us. Someone curious enough to ask the right questions." Zara stepped forward, removing her helmet. The atmosphere was perfectly breathable, adjusted to accommodate multiple species. "Dr. Vale, I'm Captain Keth. We've come seeking answers about what happened to humanity." Marcus smiled, but it was a sad expression. "Humanity didn't disappear, Captain. We simply stepped back from the stage to take on a more important role. We became guardians." "Guardians of what?" Marcus gestured for them to follow him deeper into the facility. As they walked through corridors lined with unknown technologies, he began to speak. "Tell me, Captain, what do you know about the early history of galactic civilization? Before the current alliance, before the great peace that's lasted for the past 300 years. "We know there were wars," Zara replied. "Species fighting for territory and resources. But that's ancient history." "Not all of it," Marcus said quietly. "There was something else, something that the current generation has forgotten, but that we remember very well. Something we've been protecting you from ever since we disappeared." They entered a vast chamber filled with holographic displays, showing star maps that extended far beyond any chart Zara had ever seen. But what caught her attention were the dark regions at the edge of the galaxy, marked with symbols that pulsed with ominous red light. "We call them the Devourers," Marcus continued. "They're not from our galaxy. They come from the spaces between, drawn by the light of civilization itself. They don't just conquer worlds, Captain. They consume them. Every living thing, every trace of culture, every memory. They leave nothing behind but empty space and silence." Commander Thane's voice was barely a whisper. "How do you fight something like that?" Marcus turned to look at him, and for a moment, his composed expression cracked, revealing the weight of centuries. "Very carefully, Commander, and at great cost." The awakening. The holographic displays around them shifted, showing scenes from a war that the current galaxy had never known. Zara and her crew watched in stunned silence as images of the Devourers appeared before them. They were creatures of living darkness, able to exist in the vacuum of space, feeding on life itself. Where they passed, entire star systems went dark. "This war was fought 350 years ago," Marcus explained, his voice heavy with memory. "Back then, the galaxy was different. Hundreds of independent species, all fighting among themselves, none of them prepared for a threat from outside." The displays showed massive battles between fleets and the Devourers. Ships by the thousands engaged in desperate combat against enemies that seemed impossible to kill. "The Devourers were winning," Marcus continued. "They had consumed 3 entire spiral arms before the younger races even understood what they were facing." Engineer Cord stared at the images in horror. "How did you stop them?" "We didn't stop them," Marcus replied quietly. "We contained them. But the price—" He paused, gathering himself. "The price was everything we were." The hologram shifted again, showing a different kind of battle. This time, human ships were at the center of the conflict, but they were using technologies that seemed to bend reality itself. Humanity was young then, barely 500 years into space travel. But we had something the other species didn't. We were adaptable. When conventional weapons failed, we found other ways. Captain Keth watched as human vessels began to merge with the technology around them, becoming something new. "What did you do?" "We realized that to fight the Devourers, we had to become something like them. Not evil, not destructive, but eternal. We developed technologies that allowed us to transcend our biological limitations. We became living guardians, part machine, part consciousness, part something else entirely." Commander Thane's voice was filled with awe. "You transformed your entire species." "Not all of us," Marcus admitted. "Many chose to remain human in the traditional sense. They lived their lives, had families, continued the species. But enough of us chose transformation to create the network you've seen. We became the watchers at the edge of reality." The chamber filled with new images showing the construction of the massive monitoring stations they had observed. Humans working alongside technologies that seemed to exist outside normal spacetime, building a barrier that would contain the Devourers for centuries. "We won the war," Marcus said, "but victory meant accepting that we could never again live as we had before. We had to remain vigilant, always watching, always ready. So we created the fiction of our disappearance. We let the galaxy believe we were gone, while we maintained our watch from the shadows." Dr. Naeus, who had been silent throughout the explanation, finally spoke. "But why reveal yourselves now, after 3 centuries of secrecy?" Marcus's expression grew grim. "Because they're stirring again. The barriers we built are weakening. The Devourers are testing our defenses, probing for weaknesses. We can't hold them back forever on our own." The holographic displays changed once more, showing recent sensor readings from the edge of the galaxy. Dark shapes moved in the void between stars, and the readings showed energy signatures that made the crew's instruments scream warnings. "The galaxy has grown peaceful in our absence," Marcus continued. "The Alliance has done wonderful things, created prosperity and cooperation we could hardly have imagined. But peace has made you unprepared for what's coming. Captain Keth felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. What do you need from us? Understanding, first. The current generation needs to know what's out there, what we've been protecting them from. Then cooperation. We need the resources and creativity of the new civilizations to strengthen our defenses. Engineer Cord stepped forward, her young face bright with determination. What can we do? How do we help? Marcus smiled, and for the first time, it seemed genuinely hopeful. You do what your species do best. You adapt, you innovate, you refuse to give up. The Meridian Alliance has technologies we never developed, ways of thinking we never explored. Together, we might find solutions we couldn't discover alone. But first, he continued, you need to see the full truth. Are you prepared for that? Zara looked at her crew, seeing courage mixed with fear in their faces. Show us. Marcus led them to another section of the facility, where the walls were transparent, offering a view into space beyond. But this wasn't normal space. Here, at the very edge of the galaxy, reality itself seemed thin. Through the transparent walls, they could see the Watchers. They had once been human, but now they were something more. Beings of energy and consciousness, merged with technologies that existed partially outside normal dimensions. They floated in the void, eternal sentinels keeping watch over barriers that contained horrors from beyond the galaxy. This is what we became, Marcus said quietly. This is the price we paid for victory. We gave up our humanity to save humanity, and every other species in the galaxy. One of the Watchers turned toward them, and Zara gasped. She could see the intelligence there, the personality that remained even after such transformation. The being communicated without words, its thoughts somehow reaching her mind directly. We are still human where it matters, the thought said. In our hearts, in our determination to protect those we love. We chose this freely, and we would choose it again. Commander Thane's voice was filled with respect. You've been alone out here for 3 centuries. Not alone, came the reply. We have each other, and we have purpose. But now we have hope. The galaxy is ready to stand with us. Marcus turned back to the crew. The choice we offer isn't the same one we made. We're not asking you to transform as we did. We're asking you to be yourselves. Explorers, innovators, beings who refuse to accept defeat. Help us find new ways to strengthen the barriers. Help us prepare the galaxy for what's coming. Captain Keth felt something shift inside her. A sense of purpose she had never experienced before. When we return to Alliance space, they'll want proof. They'll want evidence. You'll have it, Marcus assured her. We're prepared to reveal ourselves gradually, to work with the Alliance and other governments. But it will be better if the first contact comes from trusted explorers like yourselves. Engineer Cord was practically vibrating with excitement. The technologies you've developed, the methods you've used to contain the Devourers, imagine what we could accomplish if we combined them with modern science. That's exactly what we're hoping for, Marcus replied. Fresh perspectives, new approaches. The Devourers adapt too, so our defenses must constantly evolve. As they prepared to return to their ship, Marcus handed Captain Keth a device that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the normal 3. This will allow you to communicate with us across any distance. When you're ready to begin the real work, activate it. Walking back through the docking bay, Zara felt the weight of history on her shoulders. Her crew was quiet, each of them processing what they had learned. They were no longer just explorers. They had become ambassadors for a partnership that would reshape the galaxy. As the Horizon's Edge departed the hidden facility, the Watchers gathered to see them off. These transformed guardians, who had sacrificed everything to protect civilizations that didn't even know they existed, offered a farewell that transcended species barriers. On the bridge, as they set course for Alliance space, Commander Thane spoke the thoughts they all shared. We're going to change everything, aren't we? Captain Keth looked out at the stars, knowing that behind them, in the spaces between galaxies, ancient enemies stirred in the darkness. But for the first time in centuries, Those enemies would face not just the transformed Guardians, but an entire galaxy united in purpose. Yes, she replied. We're going to change everything. And we're going to save everything too. The Horizon's Edge carried its crew back toward known space, but they were no longer the same beings who had departed. They carried with them the knowledge of humanity's greatest sacrifice and the hope of a new alliance that would face the darkness together. Behind them, the Watchers returned to their eternal vigil, but now they waited with hope rather than resignation. The galaxy was awakening to its true history, and soon it would be ready to face its greatest challenge. The Age of Secrets was ending. The Age of Unity was about to begin. And in the vast spaces between galaxies, the Devourers sensed the change and began to move with purpose toward the light of a galaxy that would no longer face them unprepared. The end.